That's not what any of us want to see, and everybody's around him, and just hope that he's going to be okay.
So we'll take another break here in Cincinnati.
Then just fell to the ground. We don't know, of course, the extent of his injuries, but the entire Bills team is out on the field right now. Several players are down on their knees. Other players are holding hands, praying. You can just see the worried looks on their faces. As soon as we have more, Joe, we'll pass it on up to you guys in the booth.
Okay, Lisa, we're going to take a break. They have been administering CPR through these past two breaks that we've taken. As Lisa said, Damar Hamlin has been down for over 9 minutes now. With everybody watching, praying, and hoping for the best.
Oh, man. Yo, I gotta take a moment because I want to try to be careful on what I say when it comes to a situation like this. But for a quick synopsis here, yesterday evening, right, during telecast of Monday Night Football on ESPN, ABC, ESPN2, and all the other ESPN affiliates that you could possibly name of, ESPN Deportes as well, we noticed that the Bills and the Bengals, two of the top teams up in the AFC, the American Football Conference up in the NFL, as well as two of the league's lethal Super Bowl contenders this season, this NFL season, right? They were literally duking it out last night, and around the middle of the first quarter, around the 5-6 minute mark, basically Joe Burrow basically threw a short pass down to Tee Hamlin, basically to short pass down to Tee Higgins, and he basically sped up literally 13 yards. A safety by the name of Damar Hamlin literally came by and made his best effort to actually step up in front of Tee Higgins and literally try to attack him, literally face blunt force, while Higgins' shoulder directly went right through Hamlin's chest, boom, up in like fast pace, while Hamlin literally tries to tackle him, pull him down toward the ground, while his head was slightly sliding back into the direction. But most of the damage that you see here ends up literally going to the chest, as you can see on the videos, which is unfortunately very traumatizing to literally see. And as you know, Damar basically got up for a short while and all of a sudden literally collapsed down on the floor. You know, the whole ordeal was literally chaotic and insane. Medical staff on both teams really rushed down to his aid, trying to perform CPR. Gave him the defibrillator to actually try to reset his heart instantly. Thank God, basically saving his life. You know, thank God for that. You know, his vitals are literally back to normal. But as of now, they're currently running tests on him at the University of Cincinnati Trauma Center to see if there's any other irregularities that's actually going on with Damar, as we know. The game ended up being delayed for about a good hour and so. And it eventually got postponed, and there's no intent on actually rescheduling the game anytime soon this week. Neither player from either team nor even the coaches will even want to try and continue after seeing some incident that is extremely traumatic for the whole world to watch. Not just for Bills fans, not just for Bengals fans, not just for the Bills, not just for the Bengals themselves, but the entire NFL, to the millions of people literally watching all over the world, not just the ones that are watching on the ABC, not just the ones that are watching on ESPN, but literally also worldwide. We're talking about millions of people literally watching this game that day, right? And before I move further and digging deep into this whole article that we're going to read through CNN together and giving my personal experience with like analyzing these ordeals, I want to give my deepest condolences to the NFL. I want to give my condolences down to Damar Hamlin. Give prayers to him. I want to give prayers to his immediate family, his mother. I want to give prayers to extended family as well as his close friends. I want to give prayers down to his teammates on the Buffalo Bills, the whole Buffalo Bills organization, the whole Cincinnati Bills organization. You know, Sean McDermott, Zach Taylor, Coach Zach Taylor. You know, the whole organizations, the entire National Football League, as well, everyone involved with them. The NFL fans, Bills Mafia, Bengals Mafia, however it may be, that endured this type of trauma currently up in it, that, and it could end up becoming like a near tragedy. And it was an almost tragedy. Alright, so I want to try and give my prayers to them. I want to try and give a direct message basically to the league as well as to Buffalo Bills also. I'm going to do everything in my power. I'm going to try and make sure I do my due digging onto this probable cause that basically a bunch of cardiologists have found on basically what Mr. Damar actually have basically just endured. And I will probably dig that in a bit. But I'll explain to you once on the end of the video on what I'm probably going to do moving forward on trying to research the situation as this, right? So let's scroll down through this article together. It's basically written in CNN by Mrs. Susan Scudi as well as Jamie Gumbrecht. Huge shout out to both of them. And it's titled, "What Are Cardiac Arrest, Heart Attack, and Heart Failure?" Right? And I'm just going to skim through it. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but they talk about heart disease being the leading killer around the world and the top cause of death in the United States of America, which killed around 18 million people in 2019, representing 30% of all deaths globally, according to the World Health Organization. And as they've stated, not all heart disease is the same. It can affect blood vessels of the heart or brain, heart muscles and valves, and various areas to the body, in which cardiovascular disease can require long-term treatment, or they can come on suddenly and seriously in the blink of an eye. Right, and I personally know a good friend who's a cardiologist as well, so he understands this whole ordeal very, very, very deeply. Right, now there's speculation, right, on what caused Damar's cardiac arrest as we known, and it's basically a term that a lot of cardiologists basically use. It's called commotio cordis, right? And we're going to dig into that a bit deeply, right? So cardiac arrest, right? Cardiac arrest results from electrical disturbances that cause the heart to suddenly stop beating properly, in which death can result quickly if steps aren't taken immediately. Most notably, Kevin Samuels, unfortunately, tragically passed to the cardiac arrest, and unfortunately his girlfriend, who is a licensed and registered nurse, did not have the proper equipment up at his apartment to try to resuscitate basically her now widow, tragically and unfortunately around May 5th, 2022. Condolences to Hortensia, condolences to Kevin's family, by the way. Right, cardiac arrest may be reversed if CPR is performed and the defibrillator shocks the heart and restores a normal heart rhythm within a few minutes, according to the American Heart Association. And they have all the statistics they actually have shown. A sudden unexpected loss of heart function also results in a sudden loss of breathing and consciousness. And cardiac arrest is not, basically, it's not fully equivalent or not fully direct, not the same as a heart attack, even though any heart condition, which includes a heart attack or hypertension or heart failure, can lead to cardiac arrest, even though they're not the same. You want to try and take note of that, right? Another emergency that can lead to cardiac arrest was, as I've discussed earlier, commotio cordis. Is a disruption of the heart rhythm after a blow to the area directly over the heart at a key time during a heartbeat cycle, which could be blunt force trauma, or in the case of Damar Hamlin, when you see basically Tee Higgins, right, running to literally full speed, going gun-ho. And who Tee Higgins, mind you, he's one of the fastest players up in the NFL, by the way, right? He's very speedy. He's very lethal when he catches the ball. After the catch, he can be able to generate a whole ton of amount of yardage. And with his strength, it can be very difficult to literally bring him down. And Damar Hamlin is an unfortunate and almost tragic casualty of that, right? So you're dealing with obstruction of heart rhythm to the blow, where it could be blood force trauma, Cardiac arrest, it could be a baseball instantly thrown right up in the chest area, and all of a sudden the heartbeat stops suddenly, and you usually pass out to the ground, right? And it's very rare, but it mainly occurs in young men and boys during sports, in which the American Heart Association says it's the leading cause of deaths in primarily youth baseball in the United States, around 2 to 3 yearly. Automated external defibrillators have helped increase the survival rate. Now, unlike the cardiac arrest, the heart attack is mainly a circulation problem. When circulation is blocked or cut off in some way and blood is no longer supplied to the heart muscle, this can damage that muscle, which is commonly described as a heart attack. And in medical terms, doctors may refer to that as a myocardial infarction. Right? Blockages that cause heart attacks are mainly caused by the buildup of plaque in the arteries. Plaque forms when cholesterol combines with fat, calcium, and other substances in the blood. When combined, these elements harden into plaque, which can then rupture, causing a blood clot to form. Large clots can completely block the flow of blood through an artery. And they have all the stuff that they have down there with Dr. Goldberg that deals with these types of history, high blood pressure, cholesterol, hypertension, in other words, that can also lead to heart attack as well. Even though hypertension and heart attacks are purely different, hypertension can definitely lead to a heart attack, which could lead to cardiac arrest in the case of Kevin Samuels, right? And to try and add another note, an enlarged heart can also create another situation where a heart attack could be formed, which could lead to cardiac arrest as well, which Kevin Samuels has tragically had, right? So we know less frequent cause of that. It's like a spasm caused by tobacco or possibly illicit drugs, which can disable it, which would be cocaine, fentanyl, any other type of, MDMA, those types of deals, LSD, it can actually create a tear within the artery, disable the heart muscle. Tear in the artery can also result in a heart attack as well, which can be fatal if not treated quickly and properly, right? So, emergency medical help can often prevent a very, very serious outcome. And to the general public, and you someone having a serious heart attack, cardiac arrest, call 911 immediately. Do not wait, right? So, common signs of the heart attack: discomfort and pain in the chest, discomfort in other areas of the upper body, including pain in one or both arms, back, neck, jaw, stomach, and shortness of breath. And other possible signs include cold sweat, nausea, or lightheadedness, right? And we know that heart attacks are more common than cardiac arrests in the United States. Heart failure. I've actually done analysis on hypertension and heart failure, and you can literally find those playlists literally below. Basically, up on the clicks, you'll be able to actually try to dig more deep into this based on my analysis towards them. All right, you probably get like a good idea of like how they run and basically who's more than likely to get it. Now, heart failure, which I actually did a modeling of basically a few months ago, it's a condition that occurs when the heart, essentially a pump, cannot effectively push blood out through the arteries and circulatory system to the body's other organs and tissues. Congestive heart failure, a worsening of this general condition, means blood flow from the heart through the arteries has slow while blood returning from the heart through the veins has begun to back up and combine. They cause congestion, which is a blood traffic jam in the body's tissues. And my aunt personally has this whole ordeal as well when it comes to heart failure. She actually suffered from heart failure, unfortunately, prior to her passing. And the result we see is edema or swelling, usually in the legs and ankles, though edema can happen anywhere in the body. Heart failure also impairs the kidney's ability to dispose of water and sodium, causing even way more swelling than before. When pulmonary edema happens, fluid collects in the lungs and interferes with breathing, right? So anything that leads to high blood pressure, heart failure can include hypertension, diabetes, obesity, as well as coronary artery disease, right? And they could lead to heart attacks and heart failure, which could lead to cardiac arrest, unfortunately and sadly. When plaque builds up in the walls of arteries, causing the narrow and increasing the difficulty of pumping blood, and having more pressure for the heart to literally pump up more blood than it should, right? Heart failure is a medical condition that needs to be treated to prevent a life-threatening heart attack, but it's not immediately life-threatening as heart attack or a cardiac arrest. Now, to Mr. Commissioner Roger Goodell, right, to the NFL, to Coach McDermott, right, the Buffalo Bills organization, right? I want to say this. My prayers go out to you in regards to your loved one, Mr. Hamlin here, which I truly apologize and when it comes to dealing with this traumatic event. What I will do, I'm going to try and make effort to see if I could try to find some research on commotio cordis, because I know like what medical examiners as well as physicians who are cardiologists themselves discuss what's actually been seen. They're actually going about it from the medical perspective, but I want to try and dig into commotio cordis more so from an analytical perspective, me being a mathematician myself as well. I'm trying to dig into the whole root of the issue and how far common it could be toward athletes, and it could be towards anyone that plays sports. I'm going to do the best that I can to see if I could try and give some info to you guys. While the University of Cincinnati is actually currently due diligence, there's no official findings as of yet. I can't actually just say it's automatically commotio cordis as of yet, because nothing has been official as of yet. Because again, this is all speculation. We don't really fully know for sure. We don't know if Damar has heart failure, heart attack prior to all of this. We don't fully know. A lot of it is still speculation. Millions of us are actually trying to figure out what's really going on right now, and like what is really going, what is causing all the craziness, what's causing Damar's trauma. Is Damar okay? How is he feeling? The whole 9 yards. And it's definitely going to take the University of Cincinnati Trauma Center possibly a couple of days until we hear an official statement from them, the NFL, or Buffalo Bills themselves in regards to Damar's condition. So again, to the NFL and Buffalo Bills, I'm going to do my best to make sure I try and screen some data involved on commotio cordis and see what I could try to find out of it, to see if I could try and be in some sort of help the best way I know how. All right. Again, I pray for Damar. I pray for the Bills. I pray for the NFL, as well as the rest of their family, as well as the Cincinnati Bengals during this extremely difficult time.
Hi, I'm Yaz. I'm a cardiologist. Let's talk about what happened on the field to this young athlete. It's going to be difficult to tell exactly the mechanism of his injury and his cardiac arrest without any further information, but the most likely scenario is that he sustained an injury called commotio cordis. Commotio cordis is a common cause of sudden cardiac death in young athletes when they sustain blunt trauma to the left chest where the heart is, so direct injury to the heart. The mechanism of injury is when the blunt trauma happens at a very specific time frame during the cardiac cycle, which is the repolarization of the ventricle, which is this T wave here. This time point in the cardiac cycle is considered pretty vulnerable, and when blunt trauma happens, rather than the ventricle undergoing repolarization, myocytes, which are cells of the heart, are activated, and instead it undergoes depolarization. So there's activation of the myocytes. When enough depolarization happens, then the ventricle, the lower chamber of the heart, goes into ventricular fibrillation, which is an abnormal, a very fast, and a life-threatening heart rhythm. And because the ventricle is fibrillating, so it's no longer beating appropriately, there's no blood pressure, so there's no pulse, and this is a cause of cardiac arrest. While this is the most likely cause of cardiac arrest after blunt trauma, alternative diagnoses should still be ruled out after stabilization in the hospital.